2, 1. Hi, I'm JoJo,
And I'm Caesar.
and we're here to talk to you about Dragoncon and DragonConforums.org.
You can find us there under those names.
Who are we? Well, as I just said, I'm JoJo. I've been going to Dragoncon for 7 years. I've seen a lot of stuff there, done a lot of stuff, attended panels, parties, room parties. I'm also the social event coordinator for DragonConforums.org.
And I'm Caesar. I've only been going to DragonCon for 3 years, so I'm still a bit of a newbie to all this. So I can relate to the people that don't necessarily think this is their scene. They don't know if it's really for them. They don't, aren't full into the geek culture. They're more into sports or whatever. I can tell you that as a former sports guy, I felt the same way until he talked me into going 3 years ago, and I got hooked and had a great time. And from there, really started to embrace the geek side of my life. Game of Thrones helped.
Well, before we get into DragonCon, DragonConforums.org. It's a great place for people who like DragonCon to talk, collaborate, coordinate, and get more information about DragonCon. So, let's just dive right in.
Good save. All right, so what is DragonCon? It's really a big party that celebrates all sides of geek culture over Labor Day weekend down here in Atlanta. And it's like you can meet like-minded people, let your geek flag fly, just relax, and have a really good time.
Before we go any further, there's one thing we do need to say. Whether you be a newbie or a veteran about going to DragonCon, be nice to the people who are working DragonCon. They aren't being paid. They're volunteers.
Exactly. Now, who attends DragonCon? Well, it's mostly, you got cosplayers, you got fanboys and fangirls, and a lot of that is one and the same. If you're a big fan of the show, you might dress up like Doctor Who or whatever, but you also get celebrities. They're normally there to sign autographs, but some of them do hang out, walk the convention, go to the parties, and whatnot. And then you have just the people that are just kind of new and exploring it. Maybe not super big fans of any of the shows, but are just kind of there to people watch, because it's better than Walmart on a Saturday afternoon for people watching. It's amazing.
Speaking of crowds, if you are planning on going to DragonCon, and if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you are, they're the panels. That's the main draw there. The celebrities that come in, especially the big panels. If you're planning on going to one of those, you need to get in line 2, maybe even 3 hours ahead of time. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly. I mean, at least 3 hours ahead of time, because there's roughly 60,000 people there.
And especially when it's something like Game of Thrones, Firefly, or Doctor Who.
Especially Doctor Who.
Star Wars. Anything like that. Get in line early. And a quick tip, have some questions written down, because it'll help you remember them. And then if you're one of the lucky few to get up and be able to actually ask a question, you won't be stumbling over your thoughts. And don't worry if they can't get to you, because it's a big panel, and be understanding of that.
It's crazy how writing stuff down actually helps.
I know, right?
Who would have thought? But anyways, now that we're done talking about the panels, let's talk about the parties. Parties.
Yes.
There are 2 kinds of parties. You get the themed organized parties put on by DragonCon itself, and then you got the room parties put on by individuals or groups.
Wait.
And why are you taking off your shirt?
Oh, it's not those kind of room parties.
It's not that kind of room party.
Sorry.
All right. You can see why his are just kind of But anyways, the organized parties, there's a theme. You can dress up like Harry Potter or Star Wars or whatever. You don't have to. It's not a requirement for each party, but it can be a little bit more fun if you do. And a warning, just like with the panels, they're big and they get crowded, so you got to get in line early, and you got to be prepared to wait. That is why there can be a bit of a divide between the people that go to DragonCon for panels and for parties, because they can have panels later in the evening that you want to go to, which will mean it'll be harder for you to get into the parties when the panel's let out. But that can be where the room parties come in, because the room parties are smaller, They're thrown by individuals or groups, like, say, Dragonconforums.org. Shameless plug. And they're smaller, more intimate. They're more about invite only, so you don't crash the parties. That's rule number one. And the biggest thing is have fun, dance, relax, have a good time, and keep the drinking under control. All right? You're no fun if you're passed out and throwing up at 10 p.m.
Wasn't that you last year?
That was never me, not since college.
Wait.
And another thing.
Oh, that was Rondell.
That was definitely Rondell. Another thing, the parties have rules. All right, especially age restrictions on certain parties, be it 18 or 21. So keep that in mind and follow the rules and know ahead of time whether or not you're going to be able to get in or not, or else you could just waste 2 hours standing in line.
Well, what is this channel going to be about? If you watch some of the earlier videos, you've seen me do a bunch of interviews of cosplayers walking around Dragoncon, getting their thoughts on costumes going to Dragoncon. What else we're going to do here is give you a couple tips and tricks. We're going to discuss the host hotels, review each one of them in their own episode, talk about products that will help make Dragoncon easier for you, and some strategies for getting to and around the hotels that you might not know yet.
The underground and the connections between the hotels can be tricky, even if you've been going a few years like I have. All right. Now, why are we doing this? It's because we want to help you have the best Dragoncon you can have, and be it newbie or veteran, and to spread the word about Dragoncon and Dragonconforums.org. All right. Now, in the future, we'll be interviewing other people like our friend Kevin, who is also a member of Dragonconforums.org, but also runs his own blog. And so we can bring him on so he can share his own tips and tricks of the trade.
Well, that's all we have for now. But we'll be back later with longer, more in-depth videos about more specialized content as far as hotels, which ones to stay at, products you might want to bring with you, and things to do there. So, until then, have a good night.